everyone, welcome to the 5 Beer Plan. I'm Brian, and this is the ongoing saga of an everyman's ale trail. In this episode, I'll dabble in beer infusions, explore quick cooling beer, talk with Zach White from Chapman's Brewing in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and review Irish Cream Dessert Stout from DuClaw Brewing. In this segment of Tales from the Trail, I want to explore beer infusions. With the variety of adjuncts and additives to beers in today's craft industry, the combination and flavors of styles can get pretty experimental. If you had told me 5 years ago that a pastry sour would be a thing, I would have told you you were crazy. So what can you do at home with a beer to take it to a whole new level? If you have a French press, you can also do an infusion of sorts. A couple of years ago, my main beer ski and I experimented with his French press. We had a milk stout that was reminiscent of chocolate sandwich cookies. It was good, but it left just a little bit to be desired. So we took a few Oreos, crushed them up, and used the French press to infuse a little extra flavor. It did improve the beer, though it probably could have used a little bit more time to steep. Basically, if you can fit it in the French press, you can use it. So here's what you do. Pour a half to 3/4 of the beer into the French press and refrigerate the rest for later. Add your ingredients, and then refrigerate the French press and the beer for anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes. After this time, drip press the plunger, and then refrigerate once more for up to 30 minutes. Decant it and give it a taste. If need be, use some of the remaining base beer to even it out. It may sound off-putting, but adding a scoop of ice cream to a beer can increase the intensity of the flavors. The first time I ever read about this was 4 or 5 years ago. At first, I wasn't sure what to think. But then I ran across an article for a stout or a porter that sounded like it would be perfect with a scoop of vanilla ice cream. It's too bad I can't remember what it was. The second and most memorable time I did this was at Saugatuck Brewing in Saugatuck, Michigan. We happened to drop in on a Firkin Friday. Firkin Friday is typically when breweries will mash together a core beer with some other addition. This time, they had their Neapolitan milk stout paired with a scoop of French vanilla ice cream. If you've never had this beer by itself, you should give it a try. It's a sweet milk stout that has notes of vanilla, chocolate, and strawberry. Adding that creamy vanilla ice cream made a delicious beer even more so. It was amazing on a hot summer day. One last thing I've done here is to add fresh fruits or vegetables to the beer. For example, Bell's Oberon is typically served with a slice of orange. Buffalo Rock Brewing in Waterville, Ohio serves their spicy bison pale ale with a slice of jalapeno pepper in the glass. I've even added fresh harvested hops from my garden into my IPA to add a little bit of extra character. Experimenting with beer infusions is fun as long as you know that you're going to fall flat sometimes. But that's how the American craft industry has arrived to where it is today, with trial and error. So be creative. Think outside the box. Who knows? Maybe the beer you take to new flights will become the next trendy beer. Well, this week's Hop Hack is about quick cooling beer. Here's the scenario. You're hosting a summer barbecue and are now in a panic. Your friends have gone through the case of beer quicker than expected. Your fridge didn't have a lot of space to begin with due to all the food you had prepared. And everyone was having such a good time, no one thought to reload. So what do? Well, if you get online and do some searches, you'll find all sorts of different methods. Here are a few that I have personally used that work quite well. The first is to get a big bowl, put ice in it, and add just a few beers at a time. Contrary to popular belief, throwing a bunch of beers into a cooler full of ice will not accelerate the process. But what I found is that using a bowl and having a fewer number of beers on ice will cool those cans or bottles nicely. If this method doesn't cool your thirsty guests, add some salt into the ice water. Growing up, we used to make homemade ice cream. Adding salt and ice together will greatly accelerate the process to within a few minutes. Just be careful not to leave them in too long. Depending on the ABV, you might run the risk of freezing your beer. You can also wrap your beer in a wet paper towel and put it in the freezer for 10 minutes or so. This works quite well for cooling a beer or two. But just keep in mind, if you use this method, be careful to set a timer. You don't want to have your freezer covered with a thin layer of beer and waste that delicious beverage. So welcome to Barstool Banter. I'm sitting down virtually with Zach White from Chapman's Brewing at their Fort Wayne, Indiana location. Zach, welcome to the show. Appreciate you being on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Hey, Threat Level Midnight. I love it.
Yeah, you like that? Yeah. And then I've got the Swanson Pyramid of Success up there. Yeah.
Excellent. So is that your office there at Chapman's then, or?
No, this is my in-home office.
Okay.
So obviously with the craziness around the world, we've had to kind of adapt. But I turned this extra room into like it's a nerdscape / my office.
Yeah, I
So
love it, man. Can you tell me how long Chapman's has been open?
Chapman's itself opened up in 2012. So this would make our 10-year anniversary this year. So it's been a little while.
And what is your role there at the brewery?
Yeah, so I'm the VP of sales for Chapman's.
Are you involved in the brewing process at all? Or maybe even have you homebrewed yourself?
Yeah, so you wouldn't want me in charge of anything brew related. I like to joke and say that I'm really good at selling, really good at drinking it, but I am terrible at making it. I've helped out a little bit here and there as far as like, carrying kegs around in grain bags and that kind of stuff. But as far as the actual brewing process goes, no, I don't handle any of that kind of stuff. Jared and Casey are masters of the brewing up there. So I have homebrewed once, and I still have the stain on my ceiling from where it exploded.
Yeah, I got a homebrew kit from my wife a couple Christmases ago, and I have yet to do that. That's one of my goals for the summer, to try it for the first time. So,
Well, before I worked with Chapman's, this was 5 or 6 years ago now, I got the same kind of kit. And I didn't realize the time commitment that really went into, to making a beer, right? It's, it takes a while. So I started brewing at like 8 o'clock at night, thinking I'd be done, in a couple hours. No, it's like 4 a.m. I'm still doing all this stuff because you got to clean, and I didn't know what I was doing. Definitely an experience, to say the least.
So this interview is going to be just a little bit different than others I've done, because usually I focus on the brewing, the beer, that sort of thing. You're in sales, clearly. So can you tell me what are some of the current challenges that you face as a local independent brewer?
Honestly, right now, it's just getting stuff to actually, like, packaging is a huge issue for us. So getting a hold of, cans and lids and boxes, pack techs, just the stuff that you need for actual packaging. The actual like hops and grain and all that kind of stuff, we really haven't had too big of an issue getting a hold of that kind of thing. Because a lot of us have like hop contracts and contracts in place that we don't really have too big of an issue. But actually getting a hold of the raw materials of package has been the problem. Early on in during this whole craziness, you saw Miller Lite took, for instance, some of their smaller brands like Coors cans, and they went straight. Those cans didn't go to Coors anymore. They went to Miller Lite. So you couldn't get Miller cans anymore. You could only get it in bottles. So you've got these massive conglomerate breweries that are taking up all the cans and all the packaging. It makes it difficult for us small guys to kind of compete with that, especially when they're taking all the stuff. So that's the biggest thing, I think. That's the biggest stuff. Essentially overnight, everything shut down, right? So overnight, a lot of breweries that are tap houses, smaller breweries, they don't distribute at all. And so their only way to make any kind of money revenue wise would be out through their tap rooms. And with those closed, most people had to move to cans. So as soon as all that hit, it was just an onslaught looking for cans. And so that was the hardest part. We're kind of lucky in the craft sense that we're able to have, a lot of us are in 16-ounce cans. And so those weren't in such high demand. But the funny thing is that 16-ounce cans use the same lids as the 12-ounce cans. It wasn't necessarily up front the 16s were hard to find, but it was the lids for the 16s that were hard to find.
Well, I think another interesting thing, recently, you hear about Bell's getting bought, and you hear about Perrin getting absorbed in Canarchy. It doesn't look like you've got bigger breweries, the master breweries taken over, but really you do. And in that case, it would be really easy for them to capitalize on that and just start sucking up all the resources to make it difficult for the small guy like you.
Yeah, absolutely. In my opinion, I think Canarchy was like the shining star of what local craft could be if we all kind of just like grouped together to fight the big guys, right? And even they fell by the wayside to Monster. I was a big old punch in the gut, I personally think. You can't fault them for doing what they got to do, right? It even looks like even Pepsi is getting into the alcohol business now. So everyone's kind of rushing in, and it's just a matter of, who's going to stay true to their guns and who's going to, move on, I guess, right?
And honestly, we can't fault the founders or, the Bells who they've been in business for 20 plus years. But now it's like, well, hey, it's time to retire. I'm going to, sell to somebody and they're going to give me $1 billion. Well, why not?
Yeah. No, it's hard to hold it against them. Larry Bill, for example, right? I know he cut an awful lot of flack.
We were talking a little bit about your distribution. So what kind of distribution do you have there at Chapman's?
Yeah, so we have essentially 2 layers of distribution. So we have our online delivery service that delivers beer directly to people's doors. So kegs, growlers, cans, all that good stuff. And that's directly within our market. So we deliver all the way down to, Marion, all the way over to, state lines, that kind of stuff. We can't go across that. But then we also have 5-star distribution, which is our distribution partner. So they carry our beer into bars and restaurants and package, so wholesale, that kind of thing. We're lucky to have them, especially during, a pandemic where they're able to there's only one of me or, one team that we can really do something here small at the brewery. But those guys, they're the saving grace, I would say, for Chapman's for sure. Yeah, we were definitely really fortunate. Like as I said, pretty much you saw every brewery in America that could ran straight to cans. So a lot of places were buying up canning lines or smaller canning lines, whatever they could do, crowler machines to just sell beer curbside. I mean, essentially, it's you do what you got to do to survive, and that's kind of where we were at.
And I like that about the craft industry, honestly, because I think that's where I like the resiliency. I think that's the innovation, the ability to leverage, the resources you have. I think that's really, really brilliant. And I think it's necessary to stay alive in these days. I mean, you're just trying to carve out your niche.
No, it's like rock and roll, right? It's just, F you to the authority and then do what you got to do to, you got to get creative. The last numbers that I saw, as far as like how many craft breweries we lost, it really wasn't that many. And a lot of that is, big thanks to creative people in general, trying to find different ways to bring money in.
I've always considered Chapman's to be kind of a small player just because I've only ever been to the Angola tap room. But I also know that you guys have quite a big footprint in Northeast Indiana because you have locations not only in Angola, you've got Columbia City, you've got Wabash, Huntington, and even at the Fort Wayne Airport. Can you tell me about this announcement that came out at the end of the year talking about the electric works in Fort Wayne? How's that going to be unique from your other tap rooms that you have?
Our main production brewery is in Angola, and we're keeping production in Angola. That's a giant 20-barrel brew house, 100-barrel bright tank, canning lines all up there, that kind of thing. Fort Wayne is going to be very, very cool. It's a little over 5,000 square feet, essentially. We're putting a small batch brew house in there. So I believe it'll be a 10-barrel system with, I think it's around 10 fermenters that are going in there as well with, I think it's either 20 or 40-barrel bright, but it'll be a smaller brew house that's going in there. So we'll have a brew house, a bar, restaurant, all inside. From the CAD drawings I've seen, it looks very, very cool. Northern Indiana, Fort Wayne's kind of, where it's at as far as the people goes, right? Angola's a little off the beaten path, but it's still a beautiful town. We love the lakes.
Yeah.
But Fort Wayne definitely is where the people are. It'll be different in the sense that the rest of our tap rooms are all tap rooms. So we don't do any brewing in them, nothing like that. It's just, I guess like back in the early days, most small towns had breweries in them. What we wanted to emulate was that same kind of thing where every small town has their own brewery, their own watering hole where people could go and, you could share ideas and talk and meet your friends there, that kind of things. But Fort Wayne will be an actual brewery, a little bit bigger than the rest of the tap rooms.
Yeah, I'm excited. When I saw the announcement and I read the press release on your website, it looks like it's going to be a really cool place to hang out. So cheers. That's really awesome.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, it's going to be very, very cool. I think just in the last, 5 years alone, now we're in the double digits as far as how many breweries are actually in Fort Wayne. So I think Fort Wayne has around 300,000 people in it, in and around Fort Wayne. So that's, there's plenty of people. We definitely need more stuff going on in Fort Wayne.
And I love the fact that there's this renovation going in downtown at this huge facility that basically nothing's going on at the moment. And it sounds like it's going to be a really neat complex overall.
No, the city has taken a very large step forward as far as downtown Fort Wayne. Revitalization with electric works. I heard that they're going to put in like a soccer stadium downtown as well. We've got like the Riverfront Act and all that good stuff going on down there. So we're looking at you, Indy. You know what I mean?
One of the things I look forward to talking with Jared about, I really enjoy the roulette series that you have.
For a long time, Chapman's, we brewed the same, 4 or 5 beers pretty much year round over and over. And that's kind of what we noticed that, the market was going more. So they want to try new things and we want to have different beers on tap, basically just the way the tastes are changing. So with the roulettes, those are like our random beers we have out, one a month. I think that was probably the best decision we made by having, just something new all the time on. You've got your core stuff that your core audience is going to want. So you've got your people that come in, they only want to drink Kolsch or they only want to drink brown ale. We love those people. But for the people that just want something new every time, and they're going to come, a new place once a month, twice a month, we've got something for them too. Have you seen our Vaulted series stuff at all yet? Or
I have, actually. I think I had the very first stout that you had out.
Hotel Tango. So the Vaulted stuff is kind of cool. It's like, so obviously our core beers, we have plenty of, we make giant batches of those. All the roulettes we make, usually they're going to be smaller batches. So between 20 and 40 barrels, which is still quite a bit of beer. And then the Vaulted series, really, we've got 1 to 2 barrels of those. So uber small batches. All those are going to be primarily just bombers. And we've got like 300 of them. And then once they're gone, they're just gone forever. So we've gotten some really nice barrels from Heartland, some good stuff from Sadek, and those barrels are sour. And so we've had some of that beer sitting in those barrels for like 2 years. So it's like damn near impossible to replicate it. And it's like, once it's gone, it's just gone. we had a brown ale that came out, and I dream about this brown ale. The brown ale, if you ever get a chance to try it, the Englishman Sour Brown.
Okay.
And I'd put that beer up against something that like Upland would brew sour wise. And I would hold those guys like the golden standard for the sours. Jared did a hell of a job with that thing. That came out great. Came out so good. And honestly, I think it was probably an accident, to be honest with you. But but yeah, I mean, shit, you sometimes you put stuff in barrels and you're like, I don't know how it's going to turn out. And then you pop it open and it's like, oh, wow, we got something here, right?
Yeah, happy accidents.
I would argue with anyone that says they don't have those in the brewing space, because those are for sure a thing. Take like big beers, for instance. So, giant stouts or giant IPAs, 9%, 10%, right? And a lot of times you can kind of hide behind accidents with huge amounts of hops or giant malts or huge, big flavors. When you have, these giant beers from other breweries and you're like, I wonder what went wrong. Why did they add raspberry? I'm sure other people have the same things happen that we do. So
it's like my daughter's in college and she took chemistry first semester, and a couple times the experiments didn't turn out right. Brewing basically is chemistry ramped up, and so sometimes the chemistry works, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you measure things wrong, sometimes you measure them right.
Yeah, exactly. I think the line is like, look, you got to know when you can make something out of a mistake, and you have to know when it's time to dump it.
So one of the things with your roulette series, you get a free poster if you do a pre-order. So I know you kind of go through phases where you rebrand, you kind of freshen things up, make it look nice again. How does that play into what you do as far as your advertising, your distribution, can art, that kind of thing? I mean, what's the thought process into that?
So that's actually a really good question. It's something we've talked about a lot here lately. So we've been kind of talking about like our core values and our branding and all that good stuff, and just trying to make sure that everything is going, the right direction, right? So it's everyone that works at Chapman's wants to make sure that we're the best we can possibly be, but I just want to make sure that, all go in the same direction. So as far as like the marketing and all that stuff goes, with the posters, it's kind of an interesting conversation that I had with my graphic design guy. When we come out with a can or like a general idea, like for instance, what we just came out with Rios again, right? That's our giant Russian Imperial Oatmeal Stout. We think that we want to keep that can design for about between 3 and 5 years for that can. And it's so that the market, when they see it, they know that that's Rios, right? When we have the poster out, we didn't want to change the poster so much that it was different from the can, but we also didn't want to have you guys have the same poster again for like the second year that we actually made the beer. So we have a similar but limited edition run of the Rios poster, but then all the marketing material stays the same for Rios itself. So the idea is that you build a brand and you make sure that people know what the brand is, and you have the same, the right colors and the same fonts and the same vibe, the same feeling, but you can tweak little bits of it just so that it's like, all right, that still feels like Chapman's, but we definitely know that it's something different or something new. All the core stuff, and definitely when it comes to like our boxes and can designs, any kind of stuff we put out in the market, it's definitely a little more clean cut. 18th Street, their cans are beautiful, but it's definitely different than Chapman's, right?
For sure.
So it's like you got the devils on there, and it's a horse and a skeleton with a flaming sword, and that's awesome, right? But it's like if we put that on one of our cans, people would be like, well, I don't know what this is. That's not Chapman's is. You definitely have to have that same kind of design lingo whenever you go into anything new. Jason is our graphic design guy. He does fantastic work. So I definitely make sure that any kind of ideas that I've got marketing wise or any kind of new stuff that people have, I send through him and we get like the approval with Jason, just so that we can make sure that it's all form fit and it has the same vibe and the same feeling and the same personality. Otherwise you can very, very quickly confuse your audience.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Another beer that I hope you guys bring back at some point is Asturias, the Baltic Porter.
Yeah.
Oh man,
Astaris. Yeah, Astaris.
Yeah. When you had the release, it was back. I think it was 2018 or the end of 2017 is when you last had it. And I remember the release party, and that was actually where I met Jared. And I remember
Casey,
you guys had the Casey. Yeah. So you guys had the tap trailer out in the tap area, and they just pouring beers from there. And it's just like, oh, this is great.
So I don't know when we're making it again. I know we'll make a return at some point.
That particular event, I remember that quite well. I also remember going to, I think it was a luau that there at the tap room in Angola. Do you plan on doing events like that again in the future with some of your beer releases?
Yes. So that's one thing that we kind of got away from, obviously, because of COVID. So we weren't able to really do awesome stuff at the tap rooms. So we just hired on a new like VP over the tap rooms, essentially someone that's specifically just in charge of all the tap rooms, like a regional manager kind of thing. So one of the big things we're bringing back, what we plan on doing is, like release parties for beers, especially for Mug Club members, and, try the new latest and greatest thing. That was definitely one of the cool things that we used to do. We just haven't done in a long time. One thing that I thought was cool idea was that most of the Mug Club members or people like in those communities haven't ever actually met the other people from the other tap rooms, right? And so what I'd like to do is some kind of a bigger event where like all the Mug Club members and all the people from Chapman's are invited to like one centralized location for a big old party so that everyone can kind of meet, something just kind of a like a community building kind of thing. Because that's, one of our core values is we want to be able to build a community. And it's like we're bigger than something than just ourselves.
I like that. Well, if your regional manager needs help, I would be happy to apply to be the assistant to the regional manager.
Yeah. yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I'll make sure I'll pass that along for him. Assistant to the regional. Yeah. I'm a big Office fan in this household for sure.
Same here. We usually watch the series once every year, once every 18 months.
I think that show will be timeless forever, like you said.
One last fun question that I always ask as well. If you were a beer, what style would you be?
And I just have to go with like my fridge beer. I mean, I'm sure we all have a fridge beer, right? It's the beer that you've got hanging around. And I keep the original Czech Pilsner in my fridge, Pilsner Urquell. So as I've gotten older and I can't drink without heartburn and feeling terrible the day afterwards, I just like a good, crispy, light, Pilsner these days. Pilsner Urquell I think Pilsner Urquell is just damn fine.
For me, I'm all about trying something different. I very rarely keep the same thing in my fridge at any given time.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that craft beer has really gotten into is that people don't like to drink the same thing twice these days. So like if you go to craft beer bars, I just look for the thing that I haven't tried yet. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of like Belgians, but if that's the only beer on the menu that I haven't tried, I'm going for a Belgian. You know what I mean?
Yep. And I think that's one of the cool things about the industry as well, especially the independent brewers, is because you're trying to find something that's a little bit different, whether you put your spin on it.
Yeah, we like to say that like the market dictates the beers that we brew. There's definitely an interesting line between like being super, super creative and then also, will people actually enjoy this monstrosity that you've created, right? I think our head brewer, Jared, is just a master at that because we can give him like a wish list every year of like, here's the things that I would really like to see. And, he'll tweak and pick. And yeah, no, it's pretty cool.
Are those difficult conversations to have? I mean, I guess you really do have to think about not only the people you're selling to, but maybe even the season, because some people think, well, stout is a winter beer and IPA is a summer beer. What is the process?
I mean, there's a lot of thought that actually goes into a release schedule and what beers you brew and all that good stuff. If we had our way, I mean, shit, you'd make hazy IPAs all day. It's like that scene from Joe Dirt. It's not what you like, it's about your consumer, right? You definitely have to think about, what are these people going to want and when are they going to want it? So for instance, you can't make a Oktoberfest beer in the summertime. You can't release it in the winter. You have to have it out in August and you have to be done with it November 1. So there's definitely a lot of that goes into thinking about like what we want, what they want, and being creative about how it goes. I'd say we at least put 3 months into the release schedule every year, trying to figure out what we brew and when we brew it.
So Zach, I really appreciate you coming on the show, and look forward to maybe having a beer with you at some point, maybe in the new Electric Works this fall.
Absolutely, man. Just hit me up.
Will do, man.
Last call.
It's nearly time to wrap things up, but first, one more for the road. This episode, I'm drinking Irish Cream Dessert Stout from Maryland's own DuClaw Brewing. This beer comes from the Patriarchy series. Most everyone knows them from the one and only Sweet Baby Jesus. The can says this: lucky you, quite the Irish blessing. This brew will envelop you in an enchanting warm, roasty aroma as you sip on notes of smooth, creamy vanilla, chocolate, and caramel. Sláinte. Well, without further delay, this beer pours a nice dark color with a rich caramel-colored head on it. It's got a nice flavor on the nose, definitely getting some of the caramel, a little bit of the chocolate and the vanilla. First sip, definitely got that great Irish cream kind of profile to it. It's got a little bit of coffee roastedness on it, but certainly there is the vanilla. There's the chocolate, and of course the caramel. Wow. So this is classified as a pastry stout. Pastry stouts tend to be a stout that is on sugar steroids. So you can almost think of it like like a chocolate milk for adults. As I look at the can here, it's 9.4% ABV. It's a little bit surprising. It certainly does not taste like a 9% beer. And I think that's probably what makes it a little bit dangerous. Again, super, super dark color. It's still got that nice caramel colored head on it, even after a few sips here. So it's got a little bit of effervescence to it. And honestly, compared to other pastry stouts I've had, this beer is not overly sweet. So I think it's got a great balance of some, some sugar in it, but it's almost offset by the bitterness of the flavors of coffee, the chocolate. Boy, it's just a nice all around beer. So I'm going to let this warm up for maybe 5 or 10 minutes and see how things change a bit. Well, now that this is set for a few minutes, it's definitely coming alive. There's a lot more of that nice Irish cream kind of profile on the palate. Certainly swirl this around a little bit more in my glass. I get the caramel, the vanilla. It's a nice beer. In fact, I wish I had a scoop of vanilla ice cream to make myself a little float. So I give this one a solid 4 out of 5 tasters on the flight board. Sláinte, DuClaw. If you've got a beer you'd like me to drink and describe, leave a comment below. If you're a brewer and have one in mind, direct message me on Instagram and let's see what we can do. Well, that's all for this episode of the 5 Beer Plan. With so many podcasts out there, thanks for choosing to listen to mine. Join me next time when I talk about international travel, share another hop hack, and since I'm in vacation mode, I'm not exactly sure who I'll be chatting with. Remember to hit that subscribe button to be notified of new episodes. I'd love to hear from you, so please follow me on Instagram, 5beerplan 2022, and leave a comment to let me know what your favorite beer infusion is. Be sure to support your local breweries, choose your beers wisely, and drink them responsibly. Until next time, keep walking your ale trail and stay thirsty, my friends.